All right, we're back for this week's roundup of all things health. Chewing the fat, I think, is what we call it. How you going, Dean?
I'm good. Here to chew your fat.
You forget who looks at my Facebook page.
I'm sorry, Mum. Lan, you didn't know Lan. Oh my gosh.
So, another week on the protocol. It's been going well. Still feeling great. And I've had a few more questions sent through, and I've got another couple today as well. One of them was about seeing a lot, because once you start looking into these things and, you know, what Facebook's like these days, you mention a word and all of a sudden you start getting hits on your Facebook page of, look at this, look at this, look at this, you know. So there's all these supplement stuff coming up on my Facebook page now as ads and all that sort of thing. And one of the things I got asked about today was, is what you're doing, does it constitute like body types? Because I saw this thing today where there's body types and they have different diets for your different body shapes and what type of body you are and all that sort of thing. Is that relevant? Does it make a difference? Is there different diets and exercise you should do depending on the shape of your body or not?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I deal with one. I mean, it's kind of like context specific. So I deal with one kind of body type, and that's fat.
Yeah.
What body type am I? Fat. Let's deal with that.
That's what I sort of thought of when I was getting asked the question. But someone that has to lose, say, 10, 15 kilos, I know, yes, they're still fat. But if they're a, you know, endomorph or an ectomorph or they're this blood.
I have no idea. Like the pancreas is all the same and the root cause is the same. It's a hormonal imbalance and excessive calorie intake.
Yeah.
So we correct that. Doesn't matter what distinction you give to a particular body type, ectomorph, endomorph, mesomorph, whatever it might be. And some people try and design diets around blood type, etc. Listen, if you're eating too many calories, that's going to be the issue. If you're eating too much carbs and fat, that's going to be the issue.
But I'm blood type 18. I should be able to eat tons more crap than everyone else on like all these type O peasants, you know?
Yeah, look, I don't know. I don't, Trevor, I don't read the horoscopes in newspapers either. Yeah. No, I mean, metabolic syndrome is an excess of insulin. That's the underlying root cause. And your pancreas releases too much insulin because we overstimulate it with too much sugar and carbohydrates. I was talking to a leading Australian clinician. A lot of people might know of Professor Tom Barodi. Tom developed the triple therapy for Helicobacter pylori infections that cause stomach ulcers,
right?
Which is amazing. Like Barry Marshall was the guy who tried to convince the world that stomach ulcers are caused by a bacterium infection, and no one believed him because everyone thought that stomach ulcers came about by bad diet and acidic and spicy food, right? Chilies, excess chilies. So this guy was like, how can I convince the medical fraternity to consider seriously what I'm proposing here? So he grew the bacterium in a lab and drank it and gave himself a stomach ulcer and then cured it with an antibiotic, right? And he along with his partner, won the Nobel Prize. Now, to win a Nobel Prize, you have to be nominated. And the person who wrote the nomination was Professor Thomas Barodi.
Right.
Tom Barodi also then worked with them, and he developed the triple therapy, which is standard treatment for stomach ulcers now. Yeah, so right. If anyone's ever had Helicobacter pylori infection causing a stomach ulcer, it gets treated by this therapeutic approach, which he developed. So Tom he runs a very famous clinic in Sydney called the Centre for Digestive Diseases. So recently we've been talking, and he just thinks the work that I do is stunning, and he wants to put a layer of research on top of what I do. So he does a lot of cool stuff. He got into shit a long time ago, and he likes examining poo and your gut microbiome and what can change it, and what drugs can modify your gut microbiome to help people get well, and all this sort of stuff. So we're going to put those layers of research on top of my work and start examining before and after poo samples to see what happens from when you shift from a state of obesity to overweight to normal BMI range. What happens to your gut microbiome, and how does that potentially influence the protective effects of weight loss when it comes to heart disease? And I'm interested in the brain as well, that interplay between your metabolism, your gut microbiome, and how your brain functions. So we can put that layer of research on top of it as well. So
Talk to
anyone that's
mates,
listening,
I'm pretty sure they'd all come in with like the pre-research data that hasn't helped my brain at all.
What's that? Sorry.
I said, if you spoke to any of my mates, I think they'd all come in with like the pre-research data to say that no, don't go down that path. It's a waste of time. But that's that was another interesting thing though about the gut biome and stuff. We were talking the other day about weight loss surgeries and stuff like that, and how that affects the same thing. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was a massive surge in bariatric surgery because it gained an item number, so it got partially funded. But I don't know, something ridiculous like 20,000 surgeries a year or something in Australia.
Wow.
So what happens, I mean, I have patients or clients who have undergone bariatric surgery, and it's really disheartening because, you're at your wit's end, nothing else helps. Doctors are telling you this is the only thing that'll help you. And they've tried umpteen diets in the past and personal trainers and time again over years and years, and they've had no power over their weight. And this is supposed to be the thing to fix it, really sort it out. And they lose, after the surgery, they lose a truckload of weight because, you shrink your stomach down to about 80 mils, that volume. So it can't really take much. But then a couple of things don't happen. Your gut microbiome doesn't adjust accordingly. It messes with that. And also your brain doesn't rewire. There's a process during a metabolic reprogramming program, which you're part of, you're undertaking at the moment, Trevor, is your brain starts to rewire over time. Not just in terms of your relationship to food and how you see food and all of that sort of stuff, but how your brain regulates your metabolism. So we know that you've got insulin receptors in your brain, and you can even develop insulin resistance in your brain cells. So that insulin resistance or insulin activity in your brain regulates hepatic or liver metabolism, which is fundamental, obviously, to how we process and utilize energy throughout our bodies. So, that doesn't necessarily rewire appropriately in these patients. So I've had many of them who have gone through the surgery, put the weight back on, and then they've come and seen me, and then just through a nutritional coaching approach, they've lost more weight with me than they ever did with the surgery. But what's more important is they're doing it healthfully and in a way where they're educated and they're understanding how their body works, and their lifestyle and behaviors are transforming and changing, and it's more conducive to a longer term benefit. So, more than that, there's the confidence that I see alter in these people who are just, the surgery was supposed to be it, and then it wasn't. You can imagine just the degree of resignation that would set in after that, and the real despondency. And it's amazing to watch people come to life again. It's extraordinary.
Yeah. And there's also from the doctor's standpoint and everyone's standpoint, really, when someone goes on a diet and loses weight, all it sticks with people is that they lost the weight.
Yeah.
So that must work. Doesn't matter that they put it back on again later. Just do
Yeah.
that again then.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what sticks with
And then
people.
it's about their willpower.
Yeah.
And you beat up on yourself and self-flagellate, and it's, there are physiological reasons for it. If we handle the physiological reasons, and getting back to brain function, if you handle the physiology and the biochemistry, and you reduce the inflammation, and you put your body back into a healthful state, now your brain can start functioning properly again.
Mm.
It's easier to retrain your behaviors and habits and lifestyle when your brain's functioning properly. If you're highly inflamed and you're tired and you're irritable and you've got this brain fog, good luck.
I never
So I
really
think
understood brain fog until I came out of it.
yeah.
I've got brain fog. What the hell's that?
I was like that with my marriage. Scratch that.
Yeah. We'll edit that out later. Not.
Yeah, no, we won't.
And what about age? Does age matter? Because that's the latest thing I've also been seeing is if you're over 40, you need to stop eating these foods, and you need to eat these because they, these foods stunt testosterone and these foods boost it and blah, blah, blah. Same deal?
Yeah. Yeah, same deal. I mean, you've got to be more and more responsible as the older we get. What's really critical as we get older is we've got to exercise more. But we exercise when we're young and we can, and then as we get older, we exercise less and less. But the older we get, the more critical exercise becomes. But it's difficult to exercise when not only you end up putting the pounds on and you're inflamed and you're tired, and because of the inflammation and past injuries, your joints are hurting. And now, people have family commitments and financial stresses, and all this stuff just compounds, and it's really, really hard for people. So if we can handle just the baseline physiology, just through a nutritional approach and education, and get the biochemistry right, you start feeling like you want to move more. You start incorporating functional activity in your day-to-day routine in a way where now your body starts moving properly. Now those little aches and pains and mobility issues occur as opportunities to fine-tune and correct it, rather than a reason to resign yourself completely to the couch. So I find that when my clients lose the weight, they start getting more invested in other aspects of their health. And, I come from some background in musculoskeletal medicine as well, and joint pain and stem cells and regenerative techniques. So I have a plethora of experts from sports medicine, physio, strength and conditioning coaches, top athletes that I work with and partner in business as well. So, we want to move, but it's hard to move when your biochemistry is out of whack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was sort of in limbo between the two of being I'm too sore and unhappy to train, and I have to, otherwise I seize up. So I was on a seize of just do enough so you don't seize up, but then it hurts, so back off.
Yeah, I know. Even the enjoyable stuff is like excruciating for people, Shag is back, so then they don't.
Is that supposed to be good for your back? That's what I tell one. And yeah, I've noticed too of just wanting to, or just not even noticing, like going to a car park, say, I just don't care where I park anymore.
What are you doing at car parks, Trevor?
Well, that's a story for another day.
I mentioned Shag is back, and you start talking about car parks.
At least I didn't go to the gutter. But yeah, I was at Costco the other day, and I just went. I just didn't care. I didn't have to park right near the door, so it was easier to get in and out. I was just like, I don't really care. And I was walking, and I was thinking, that's weird. I would have
Yeah.
been driving around. It wasn't a conscious thing. It was just little
Yeah.
things you notice that, probably just don't make any sense whatsoever at the time, when there's no real thought to have about it other than, wow, I don't really notice where I'm parking and having to walk to now. And once I get
Yeah.
out, I go, sweet, I've got to walk to there. There's a bit more movement for me to do instead of sitting around all day doing nothing.
Yeah. Like you mentioned before, just 15 kilograms, for example. That's a big deal. That can be the difference depending on how tall the person is, male, female. 15 kilograms could mean the difference between being clinically obese versus being in the normal, healthy weight range.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. And it's not just a superficial one, can I fit in my clothes? And that in and of itself makes an enormous difference in your self-confidence, how you participate in life, what activities you throw yourself at, who you interact with and how you interact with people. It can make an enormous difference. But that the biochemical changes, those 15 kilograms could make the difference. That could be an extra 15 years onto your total life length, plus an increase in your healthful years.
Yeah.
A significant increase. So, it's a big deal. And people always think, I just need to lose 10 kilos. Like it's a nothing thing. It's the biggest deal. And if it was like just a throwaway thing, I'll get to it later. If it was that simple that you could just get to it, you would have done it already. No one deliberately hangs on to that weight because it's of no concern to them. It is. It's just there's a level of resignation where people just sell out because it is difficult. It's difficult in contrast to the view that it should be easy. It's just not. It's not. And when you confront that, yeah, it's bloody hard.
It goes on easy.
Then you've got to learn. Then you've got to, it needs to be handled, and you've got to invest in learning what does it take and getting the support and,
Yeah.
I mean, the good thing about what I do, I don't yell at anyone to run. Someone came and saw me today. They were in 4 months. So a 48-year-old female in 4 months lost over 18 kilograms, 18.1 kilograms. And she's, her BMI has moved from 33 down to 26. But she looked amazing. Her visceral fat score went from 10 to 6. She lost a whole 15 centimeters off her waist circumference. It's incredible.
Yeah.
She's got 3 more kilograms to lose to her target weight. And then that's when the rubber hits the road, where it's about stabilizing you there and training the brain to keep the body at this new health set point. So for the long haul.
For me, I only thought about that the other day, about what the next, stage of it was. And I was out at a mate's place who's, pretty fit and healthy anyway and eats really well. And we were just talking about just different things that were showing up now and how they showed up. And there was just not the will, not the constant wanting of crap food. And even like a beer or whatever. He was saying, he came home, he had a massive day, he drove 4 hours or whatever, came home and was said in the car, I can't wait to have a beer when I get home. Just one beer. And he tipped half of it out. Because it was just like, yeah, nah. He had water or something else instead. And it's just something that I haven't missed at all.
Yeah.
To do. I mean, it's great to have a glass of wine and stuff every now and again, but
I mean, there's that saying that whoever coined it, maybe Anthony Robbins or someone, nothing tastes as good as being healthy feels.
Yeah, for sure. On another topic, supplements and stuff.
Yeah.
Again, I've been getting heaps of supplement stuff, and you and I have been looking at different stuff as well, and what's good and what's not. What makes supplements good or bad besides, I think, some people aren't really versed in looking at how much fat and saturated fat or sugar in versus carbs and all that sort of thing. But that's pretty easy sort of thing to pick up. But what's
Yeah.
some of the stuff that, you'd look at, most people look at and go, oh, yeah, it's got low sugar and there's not much fat and there's 30 grams of protein in it. But what are the other stuff in there that are going to get in the way of you losing the weight?
Mm. Yeah, it's a good one because there's so many different protein products out on the market. How do you know? And it's kind of like all the supplements, and it's like walking into a bottle shop. How do you know which wine is worth buying? You have no idea. You just kind of pick the ones that are at eye level and is a decent price and it's got a nice looking label, and you go and think, oh yeah, that's credible. And sometimes reading these ingredients lists and nutritional tables may as well be like the wine wank that's on the back of wine bottles.
Growing out these slopes under
it starts to occur like that to me. So look, it depends on the context of what outcome you're committed to, and also the nutritional plan, the overarching nutritional plan. So you're consuming these protein products in what context of other food. So I think a lot of people take they see these products and it might have some endorsement and maybe some claims around it can assist with weight loss or whatever. Look, I've done it too. I bought a pair of runners once thinking that the purchase of the shoes itself should make me fit.
And run.
I bought books just thinking that if it sat on my bookshelf, it'll make me smarter and I'd know more stuff. No. So you can't just consume these protein products and think that, it's going to magically have an effect on your body. It doesn't. But what the protein does is, of the three macronutrients, so protein, fat, and carbohydrates, of the three, protein is the most satiating. It's the macronutrient that gives you that sense of satisfaction and fullness, so you aren't hungry all the time. Because if you're hungry all the time, you're going to deviate and eat the wrong foods, right? So you need the protein as well for your body to maintain its lean muscle mass, for vital organ function, to empower your immune system. Everything in your body is powered and it functions through proteins. So you need to make sure you get that adequate supply of protein. I don't recommend high protein, just an adequate amount that your body needs. And you need that consumption throughout the day to help regulate your metabolism. But also you can't just have a massive amount of protein. You can't eat, 450 grams of meat or 50 grams of whey protein or whatever. Your body's not going to absorb it all. Yeah. If you drink one of these whey protein drinks, that's going to go through your system within an hour and a half, right? So there's not much time that the protein has to be absorbed. And like 30% of it gets absorbed.
Right.
So there's no point in consuming 50 grams of whey protein. So
you're better off having... I'd hear that and go, well, if it's only going to absorb 30% of it, then I should eat 90 grams of protein, because then I'll still... That'll be more grams that I'll absorb.
No, you'll absorb a certain amount.
Doesn't matter how much.
And then that's it, right?
Yeah.
So, 15 grams and that's it. So you want like 18 to 20 grams of protein. The best forms of protein are whey. Pea protein is great. And soy protein as well, but you want to make sure that they're isolates. So if when you manufacture the protein, isolates are the best, particularly when it comes to soy, because then you get rid of all the phytoestrogens, the genistein, which some people have an issue with. Right. And then pea protein is awesome, but it doesn't always mix well in drinks and stuff. But I think, manufacturers are getting better and better at making better tasting drinks. And whey protein isolates are preferred because not everyone has a gut that can handle that much whey protein. So you want to make sure that the cheaper proteins mix really well. They make for really nice, tasty, creamy drinks, but it's a lower quality protein, and it can sometimes cause either it's not absorbed properly or it can cause inflammation in the gut.
Right.
And that can be detrimental to nutrient absorption, and that inflammation, causes bloating and other issues, right? So how do you make the products taste great? Then you got to make it palatable. It's got to mix well. It's got to have a nice texture to it. Otherwise, people won't regularly consume it and they'll deviate.
Yeah.
And to make it taste well, you got to have some sweeteners in there sometimes. And I think some products overdo some of these artificial sweeteners, and especially sugar alcohols. So when you look at a label, you want to read things like it says maltitol and xylitol and sorbitol. And so these can have somewhat of a bloating effect. It can also have a bit of a what's the word? Make you want to poo. A laxative effect.
Yeah.
So you'll feel uncomfortable and bloating and gurgling, and you'll fart a lot, and then you'll be do I need to poo? So you've got to be careful. You're better off having more natural sugar and only a little bit of those sugar alcohols, because they're so sweet. You don't need much of them anyway.
Yeah.
And I find some of the products that put lots of vitamins and minerals in them, I think it's unnecessary. You're better off taking a really high quality multivitamin mineral supplement. At least there's just better clinical studies back some of these higher end multivitamin supplements than having all those constituents in your protein powder or whatever. I find that it gives it somewhat of a metallic taste as well in some of the products. So, and I prefer that you supplement with a quality multi, and make sure you eat your vegetables and you get the micronutrition from whole foods, and you supplement when you're in an unbalanced nutritional state, which is what you need to lose the weight. But once you're at your ideal weight, you want to get your nutrition primarily from whole foods.
Yeah.
So that's the design that I utilize, and the intention is whole foods, balanced. But if there's a metabolic dysfunction, if you're overweight, we've got to correct that first, and then train you how to manage that over time. But yeah, there's so many products out there. A lot of them are terrible, and there's a lot of great products out there at the moment. So, we're testing a whole bunch of them, and seeing what makes sense to recommend to my clients as well.
There's it gets hard though, because they constantly just try and come up with new either labels or coin phrases or ingredients that do that. I mean, like one of the things I saw today was polydextrose that they're using to say it increases fiber or something. So it's got a high fiber content, but then they use this polydextrose. But whether it has the same effect as actual, say fruit fiber or whatever else does, and all that sort of thing. That's the same sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's like, you can throw, if all you eat is powdered crap in a big jar, which, by the way, if you open it and expose it to the air, the protein oxidizes. And, so I'm not the biggest fan of those big tubs of protein powders. They're easy to manufacture and they sell off the shelf, right? But I'm not the biggest fan of them. But they can be useful. The fiber can help slow gut transit of the protein, and potentially increase absorption. So it's not just the amount of protein, it's the quality of protein and how absorbable is the protein. So, some products put some digestive enzymes in there to help with that, and that can increase the amount of circulating amino acids that end up in your blood. But, really where you want to get your fiber from is the plant matter that you consume as part of a nutritionally complete diet. Even when you're in a restricted weight loss phase, you still want to eat a substantial volume of plant matter. So the protein products are not the be all and end all.
Yeah.
They make it a hell of a lot easier because you can get the good quality protein nutrition at really low caloric counts.
Yeah.
So, you want from 18 to 20 grams of protein. You want that to sit somewhere, definitely below 150 calories. You want your carb intake certainly below 10 grams of carbs. If you can have some fiber in there, great. But, you'll get that from your vegetables and salad and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. What else have you been up to? Anything exciting?
Always, man. Saving the world. Saving the world. So I'm doing a heap of cool stuff with the COVID testing. So there's a test kit called CPAS, and we're using that to get people back to work again, and this is the test that will confer functional immunity.
Right.
So if we can create somewhat of an immunity passport, this is the test that's going to tell us whether or not you have that functional immunity. And this is important for key ecosystems like airports and not just getting people on planes, but the cargo crew and the ground crew and all of that. And we're even looking at specific ecosystems that have access to deploying a number of people around the world that make a big difference, like the United Nations, for example. We're having conversations with the UAE and Monaco and all of that sort of stuff. But this is the test that even if a vaccine does come along, how do you know that the vaccine's worked? This is the test that'll tell you. And then after a few months, how do you know that there's some longevity to that protection? This is the test that'll tell you. If you've been exposed to the virus and you've been sick, how do you know that your immune system's developed some functional protection to a degree? Then this is the test that'll tell you. So, I'm working with some important stakeholders here in Australia and around the world to hopefully, execute on an effective exit strategy from lockdown and free the world up and end this pandemic. But yeah, that's super exciting. And I wish I could share more, but I will in time. But it's important, but it's fun. So what's critical though is that people look after their health now. Don't wait till you're sick. The best thing you can do is handle your metabolic health.
That's what I was going to get to. Is I've had a few messages this week of people, of friends and other people that have just been have seen the videos on Facebook and things like that, that have jumped on board, and they're on you're working with them to help them lose weight as well. And I got a message from one the other day, and it's like, I've lost this many centimeters and I've lost this many kilos and I'm smashing it. How are you going? And I was like, how cool is that? So, if you've been watching the videos and thinking, I'm just going to see what happens with Trev and I'm going to hear a bit more info about it and all that sort of thing. Look, there's never a good time or a right time to do this stuff. Just give Dean a message, shoot him a message on my Facebook. You'll find him in my friends or tag to this video, and just have a chat and see what's going on for you, how he can help, if he can help, and just get your health sorted now while you can.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, thanks for saying that, Trevor. Appreciate it. But, there are people that we all look up to as the epitome of health. And I've got to tell you, people find themselves in different times of their life. And, I'm coaching one of Australia's greatest athletic champions ever. Like, everyone knows him. And, he's not immortal anymore. No. He's dealing with what the rest of us deal with. And, I'm working with him to sort his health out as well. And so no one ever needs to feel like there's something wrong with them.
No.
There's just stuff you don't know. And it's hidden from your view. And my job as a coach is to educate you and train you so you now have the power versus being resigned. If you have a loss of power over something, then there's something that's hidden from your view. And that's what all a coach does. is I put the power back in your own hands so you can be responsible for your own well-being. And those dieters that have been messaging you, I mean, their results, it just never ceases to amaze me. You know, someone loses 7.5 kilos in a week or two. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then people have just never lost any weight, and then they're messaging me, oh my God, I'm 10 kilograms down. I didn't think it would be this easy. I mean, I've got to warn people, it's not easy. It occurs, it seems easy once you've lost that 10 kilos, but in the beginning, it's like, oh my God, you know, there's so much to learn. But that's why I hold people's hands and make it as simple as possible.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Let's talk again next week.
All right, buddy. Have a good night.
What do you think?